thinking like in a lot of schools where they may be shorthanded, one of the great ways to help our kiddos catch up and get some individualized practice could be watching a YouTube video to do their, my daughter, the teacher, uses videos, which obviously she has vetted, and she watches them with her class where they do like different songs and things like that. But I mean, Jill and I were talking on Friday about some of the, she's like, the people who are paras at my kids' schools, like they haven't even graduated high school and they needed a job. And so they're para. And so I remember, great story, when my son first got a diagnosis, and I'm like, okay, well, how are you going to teach him how to read? And the principal said, well, I don't think we need to teach him all the letters. I think we just need to figure out what letter sounds he doesn't know and teach him those. Which
Okay.
I knew didn't sound right. I knew that sounded stupid, but I didn't know why. And it's because of like, T sounds one way, but TH makes a completely different sound. And THR makes a different sound. So you can't just pick what, there's like a systematic kind of. So the learning support teacher walked over to the file cabinet. She's like, oh my God, I got the best book to teach your child how to read. And she went into her file cabinet and she pulled out a letter sounds book that you can, and she probably bought at Walmart, and said to me, look at how many pages there are just of the letter A alone. And had I not pushed back and said, no, that doesn't sound right to me. And again, I didn't know why at the time. That's what she would have used and said, oh, he mastered this whole book and he's good to go. Which is why I looked into different ways of teaching my kid how to read, and I became Wilson certified and blah, blah, blah. But not every parent knows that, has the time. We're taught to trust the school. So to me, it wouldn't seem like it's unusual, telling you what I came from, for a para to put on a YouTube video and it goes to the next video, which could be one of these AI meek videos for milk instead of milk. So, I mean, that's kind of why I brought it up. When we're trying to cut corners, because we have to. It's not, So that's why I brought it up.
It's also a matter of trust, right? I mean, it's not even cutting corners. It's, as a parent, you put your trust in the school to do the right thing, YouTube to do the right thing, TikTok or whatever your kids are watching to do the right thing. But the fact is you can't really trust anyone, and you have to, check all this stuff out.
Well, there was a conversation. I know this isn't. Go ahead.
Hold that for a minute.
Okay.
We just jumped right in because, I mean, this is what we do before we hit record. We always have these phenomenal conversations, and then we're all like, okay, oh, wait a minute, we better get started. And then we hit record and we're all like, okay, what do we talk about now? So good morning, ladies, and everybody who's joining us. I don't know what topic we kind of got started on. We just sort of got started on, I don't know, school and maybe the evils of capitalism, or maybe YouTube. I don't know. Maybe that's me. So let's see what we're going to talk about. I don't know. Go ahead, Tracy. Sorry, I stopped you.
Well, you were talking about AI, and stuff like that. But then you said trust, right, Julia? And just over the weekend, the topic of roadblocks came up with my daughter. And, roadblocks has been, a trusted game that, my grandson has been playing for a while now. This has been a kid's game. And I know that that's been brought up quite a while now been unsafe and coming under fire too. That was just not trustworthy. Now the CEOs come out to say now there's going to be a dating site, and this is a kids game. And some of the TikTok users are coming out with a lot of warnings, and so AI and these games for kids, we definitely do need to look into them, check them out, because there's just a lot of warning signs out there for us parents to just watch out for.
Yeah, not just adds another thing onto our plate, right? You want to give your time, you want to put your kids, in a safe environment to do something while you can wash the dishes or throw the load of laundry in. And now you have to, and I mean, not that you shouldn't do it anyway, but now we have to, sit down for an hour and a half and check out every section of this game or every, inch of the video. And, they're really, with today's kids, they want to look at a screen. You don't want them to look at a screen, but you have to, there's got to be some middle ground. And where is it?
Yeah.
How do you keep them safe? You got to just be vigilant all the time.
And AI is definitely the way that things are going. You know what I mean? It is definitely something that is going to happen. We can't stop it. I mean, can we? I don't think we can stop it.
I mean, I think that AI has its time and its place. I kind of live my life on the computer, and I think it's a wonderful tool. And I do think that in order for our children to compete in an ever-growing marketplace or a more competitive marketplace, they need to understand how to use these tools. I understand that a lot of from what I hear, people in like Silicon Valley don't let their children use the internet. And that's fine for them. Their children are around other people who don't have cell phones, who think alike because they know the bad things that can happen. But they also have a ton of money. So when it comes time for their children to use the internet, they probably have all kinds of, classes and trainings in their school where their children can go in and learn how to use what they need to know. Their children are probably being taught things that our children in school are not being taught. I remember when I was a kiddo at one point, we learned how to identify propaganda, how to tell if a source was a legitimate source or not that we should be paying attention to, but our children don't learn those things now. And let's be honest, our children anymore don't feel like there's a lot that we can teach them. And because of this larger world that we live in, our children feel like they can get their information from other places, which is okay too. But there are things that we try to teach our children, especially our children with any kind of neurodivergence or mental health challenge, to say, let's sit down, let's look at this, let's figure out how to critically evaluate if this is a legitimate site or not. Let's stop and think, does this sound too good to be true? Is this something we should believe? Our children don't want to hear from us. They believe their peers. And how many of us have heard, oh, Mom, you don't know, everybody's doing it, because I know back in my day, I did it to my mom. So it's just getting worse now, right? But we don't have the luxury of not giving our children cell phones, because if we don't give our children cell phones, they're still going to see it at school, when they go to other people's homes. So we have lost that control over our children. And we don't really have the ability to limit who they are exposed to and what they're exposed to. And so for some children, that's good because it can broaden their horizons, and that's fantastic. We should all be allowed to be exposed to different opinions and different ideas, but that also opens our children up. They're talking about how children are seeing porn much, much, much earlier, which really messes them up. Totally not cool. And they're exposed to things. I think as a teacher, the worst thing my daughter would want to do is have to change a child's way of like milk as mech, mick, however it was that AI was saying it, like having to break that misunderstanding, and you may not even catch on to the fact that they're saying it incorrectly for, like half a school year. So I think that our jobs as parents and that ever vigilant is a big nightmare. It's a huge nightmare for parents.
Yeah, the article that my daughter sent to me about roadblocks was that a mom was sitting next to her son. And it just so happened that she was listening to, or the son was playing on roadblocks, and it happened where she looked over and it was looking at roadblocks, and it was definitely inappropriate material in her son's game. And this is a game that her son, young, very young, should have just been building a game with friends and things like that. And there was adult content, very adult content. These are, and I remember my grandson playing this while he was very young, just block figures, and they were doing very inappropriate things. And she was just appalled. And I was like sending it to my daughter. I'm like, oh my God, is this what you're talking about? And she's like, yes. And it's, you go down this rabbit hole of then investigating it, and it got worse and worse. And Christina, it was just like that. You're seeing more content when you're investigating, you know what I mean? And this is young children, and trying just to play a game with their cousin, building, their house and their family, or whatever Roblox does. It's hard. And then again, to your point about, the content of AI and trying to protect our kids. My daughter has fallen for so many scams on the internet. I cannot tell you, because it's like, I go, do you really think that that's true? Like, when you're looking at that, like, she sent my husband something the other day, and his response was, that's spam, or like, that's a scam. It's not, you're not going to get something for free. We're not going to get a free dinner. She's like, let's go to dinner. I'm like, no, honey, that's not going to happen. And she's like, but yeah, it says we could do this if you do this. And I'm like, not going to happen. Just send me this, or it, and she's a teenager. She's still older. And so there's so many things out there now that it's just so scary, that they can fall victim of. It's scary to me. It is a worry of mine all the time. And I think that for me, when you talk about no regulations of this AI and cell phones of the future and things like that, I think that it's even scarier. It's scary to me. You know what I mean? I worry. I don't know.
But I want us to move out of the scared zone and kind of think about, like the kind of become more empowered. So, you can still, I know we don't have home phones anymore.
Nope.
So
We got rid of ours.
I think about it all the time because, like, I used to, okay, all right, I'm a little weird. I used to call my dog and leave him a voicemail. I'd be like, hey, I'm on my way home. I'll be home soon. Can't do that anymore. not that he knew, but whatever. It made me feel better. You can get your kiddo a flip phone so that they have a phone, and maybe kind of work them into, you're a little bit older, you could have, I think the price of everything going up so sky high may actually help us with this. Like, I'm not putting a $2,500 phone, or like, as they become more and more expensive. I did glance at a something, a headline, so it's probably wrong, that Verizon wasn't doing like free phones anymore every so often. But if that's the case, then that also kind of bolsters your option as a parent to buy your child a cheaper phone, like a practice phone.
Yeah.
So they can still text with people, they can still, get calls, things like that. But do they really need this entire computer in their pocket? Maybe until they've maybe they need to, maybe that is kind of part of what you do in your family, where we do some kind of training to sort of understand who should we be talking to, who shouldn't we be talking to. Things like, one of the things, we have a video on it, when my kiddos were younger, mostly my older one was younger, we came up with a family code word. And the theory was, before she was ever to go with someone, even if it was a family friend, they had to give her the code word.
Oh, yeah.
So you can unfortunately do things like this, but I guess maybe think about it as the next evolution of keeping your front door locked. When I lived in Blossburg ages ago, the doors were always unlocked. We never locked our doors. Maybe now that would be something that I would do. The other recommendation, I just saw someone who went to like a thrift store and bought one of those little DVD players. Remember, like the DVD players with the little screens in them? And
Oh,
they
yeah.
found videos for their younger kiddos and let them watch that. I think sometimes the problem with gaming is nowadays that you don't own anything and you have to subscribe to it. In order for your child to play it, they're going to be online, and as parents, we can do all sorts of parental lock. Like, our kids are way smarter. They know how to get around that. But
Mm-hmm.
we may just have to go old school a little bit.
Yeah, and I have a suggestion for the little ones. Everybody's doing streaming services now, like Disney Plus and Hulu and Netflix. You can put those on your phone. So if you're in the doctor's and you needed a quick, video or something, you can pull up those trusted TV shows like Sesame Street, or, Franklin, or, whatever the kids are watching today, Bluey, and put those on for your kids. And it's the actual TV show from the network. You know what I mean? Something that is not going to end up going to something that you wouldn't want your kids to watch.
I think it's a good idea to download what you want them to watch, instead of somebody having the option to add something to what they are viewing when they're in a younger age group, and you have a little bit of control over that, more so than a teenager would be able to figure it out themselves. But I like the idea of downloading content, and then that's the only content you have. Like, we're gonna watch this, we'll download it, and it'll be on there, and then I know you can go over there and watch it, and something new that I'm not aware of isn't going to come up. But I think too, like, we feel very relaxed in our home, and so do our kids. They feel safe there. And I think a mistake I made as a parent of trying to protect them from things that were too old for them, things you didn't want them to see. In the beginning, it was just like I did all the protection. Well, it comes to a certain point that you have to have conversations with them and tell them what is inappropriate. So when they see it, instead of being like, if I tell mom, she's going to take this from me, and I want the good parts. I don't want the bad parts, but how do I keep doing this and not tell my parents so I don't lose it? Talking to them about if something does come up, what are we going to do about it? Well, we're going to try to block those things. You can still play this game or this video or whatever it might be, but there's things we can do to make it appropriate. So I think it's a difficult conversation and a difficult thing to teach your children what to do when something is inappropriate. What should their response be? Because I think most children are like, I'm not telling them, and they just keep going, and it takes a parent to observe it, to see it, to know. So I think there should be education on, why you shouldn't see naked people, and why you're not old enough for that yet, and things like that. But not that it's easy, I'm not saying it is, but I think we have to have those conversations too of why something's inappropriate.
And I do think, like you said, Melissa, I think that, it's going to force us as parents to be more aware, but also be more open and educate our children. So, one of the great books that I bought for my girls, and they're still out there, from American Girl, like that American Girl doll, but it was that from that company, was a book called The Care and Keeping of You. And it was a really nice book for, I don't know, I mean, all kids are different, but, maybe younger or middle school kind of age, where it just talked about all kinds of like deodorant and periods. And if you want to shave your legs, those kind of wearing makeup, taking care of your hair, those kinds of things. And I think we're just going to have to have have the conversations with our children that we want them to hear from us. So, talk to them about earlier than you think, maybe have a conversation with them about sexuality and and love and what a healthy relationship looks like, whatever that is for you and for your family. If you're worried about other people teaching your children things that you don't want them to know, then you teach them what is appropriate for your family. And you can say, other people have their own ideas and views, but in our house, this is what we believe. This is, how we are, and have that conversation. If you see something that you're uncomfortable with, if you have questions about something, if you see something that kind of differs, it's okay to come and have that conversation with me. And I promise not to get mad at me, and then don't. And, I promise not to call so and so's mom and be like, or whatever. I don't even know if we know parents well enough to do that anymore. But, just have those conversations with your children, have conversations with them. The same way, I think, let's invoke Scott here, the same way for our organization, we are forced to watch these, what I consider very annoying videos on scams, and like, this is what this kind of scam is called, and this is what it looks like. And um, some of us may know, some of us don't. So have those conversations with your kid. I use the phrase all the time: say the thing you think you don't have to say.
I think even sharing with them when IA tricked us, like I'll say tricked me. I don't know about you guys, but whenever I seen the bunnies on the trampoline, I was like, wow, that is amazing. And my girls were like, that's AI. That's not real. That didn't really happen. Just there's different things that happen. Like my husband forever wants to shop off of Facebook. None of these stores are real. I'll look them up. They don't exist. Just I think even telling them like all of this stuff tries to trick us too. And we're adults.
Right.
Being open about that and saying, even to the extent of somebody took money out of our bank account because I made a mistake and I believed something that wasn't true, and they're hard conversations, and it may not feel like it's something you want to talk to your kids about, that you've been tricked or you've made a mistake, but it's the same for us as it is for them. Only we have enough experience and knowledge and age behind us that we're like, yeah, that's not right. That's not going to fly. That's not what it should be. but I don't know. I think it's very difficult. I just heard a podcast where a parent took their children's cell phones and made a rule that they are now below the first floor. They're below the bedrooms. They're never allowed to go upstairs. And they have younger kids, they're not teenagers. But I like that idea of making it like it's a kitchen phone. Unless you're leaving and you're going like to sports or something and you need to have this phone. But it's like the kitchen phone. You can take calls in there, but like try to control the time and then laying in bed just looking at anything under the sun. And you think, just my age, I'll say too, like it has got to be so hard for parents. Back in the day when I went somewhere before cell phones, there were payphones everywhere. You could make a collect call for free. Like our kids don't have that option. So I feel like parents feel like this cell phone is their key to safety. Only it can be turned against us, and we got to look at it bigger than it's just their way to get back to us safely if they need to. We need to really look at what's in their hands and how the world's changing.
And I think for me,
there's a lot of good things about AI. I mean, there's a lot of advantages that can be used with AI right now too. With chat GPT and all of the things that can be used to help, I know schools are helping to, use things. So, there's a lot of advantages to use, AIs too. So, I know my daughter uses it a lot to, help her to coordinate her thoughts and to spell and to, write things because that's something that she struggles with. So there could be some advantages too.
Oh, for sure. Sure.
I think if we talk to our kiddos about AI is very much like a produced movie or TV show. When my kiddos were younger, The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody was one of their favorites, and that's great, but most people are not going to live in hotels. And when you live in a hotel, it's very not like The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody at all. There's never any adults there. So AI is the same way. The bunnies jumping on the trampoline was adorable and could very well be something that you would see in a kids movie, like all those produced Disney movies with real live animals. So if you kind of think about AI like that, AI is like a TV show or like a movie. It's not real life. And also, now that my children are older and that they are of an age where they're fully grown and their brain is fully developed, I can look back at some of the things that I did as a parent and do every night as I'm falling asleep and list off every mistake that I've made and everything that I could have done better. And so I'm always thinking about I could have had this or that conversation with them. And I don't want to make anyone feel bad because when I have all of those, I go through my list of every mistake that I've ever made. I have to put it into perspective, thinking of I was stressed out. I didn't have the money, I didn't have the resources and the knowledge and the support group that I have now. And so that does make a difference. But as much as you can, I do think that it is a good idea to maybe set aside some time and kind of think about what's important to you. I think, Melissa, you and I talk about your family mission statement and doing a vision, like a vision statement and a mission statement for your family and for your children. And I think that can be kind of something that's good. This is what I prioritize for my family, for my child, because we can't do everything. We can't be everywhere.
And it's very easy to judge. We're very hard on ourselves as parents. Like we could be so rough on ourselves and judge that person, that parent in that situation. Looking back is like tough. It's tough. It really is, because you're the person you are now with all the knowledge that you didn't have, the resources you didn't have. And it's really difficult not to tear that woman down, you know? But then you ask your kids and they're like, oh, you did so much. You were so great. And we did this and we did that. And you taught us this. It's,
All right, so you have kids who do that with not everybody maybe does.
well,
But what I will see though is, you know, my is watching maybe what you've done with your kiddos through your children, and my kids will kind of joke about how, especially my oldest, about how I was like horrible, she says in a joking manner, because I would only let them watch like PBS. So they were like Arthur and Cyber Chase and, you know, stuff like that. And every so often she'll kind of make like a jokey kind of comment about, well, when your mother only let you watch Cyber Chase. Yeah. So sometimes you see, even if your children don't acknowledge it, as a parent, sometimes you can see them do the things that you were trying to instill in them. So that's always nice. I'm glad that your children tell you that you were a good mom. Can your children call me sometime?
they're very,
I'm not saying that
they really are.
I'm not saying that my children don't, but definitely not like that.
Well, I think too, my children becoming parents, they see things a little differently than they did before they had babies. You know, it's a turn on a dime there. Like, whoa, how'd you do this? I think too, like you said, having that mission statement, I think our lives are so fast paced. Everything is happening so fast. If I could tell a parent anything, it would be put on the brakes and think about and remember, what do you want for your family? You do want the same things we wanted when we put them in front of PBS, peace of mind and safety, that I can walk away, I can go over here and cook dinner, and you're watching something that I know is safe for you to watch. So I would say put the brakes on, remember what your plan and wish and hopes are for your children, and take the time to implement and figure out how are you going to protect them and still help them grow and flourish and not stifle them because we're terrified of this big bad world. There's a way to navigate it, and not that it's easy, but I think if we just slow down a little bit and regroup. And you mentioned too about, do we still talk to parents? Does one parent talk to another parent when our children of their peers? I honestly think we need to get back to that. We need that sense of community. Our children need to know that we're talking to their friends' parents. If for nothing else, just to know anything could come out. So and so's mother could have seen you doing something or playing something on your phone. They're going to tell your mom. Like, that's worth its weight in gold. And I don't know,
I always
make that connection for people that don't have that now, because I don't have children of that age. I've had parents tell me where they've reached out to other parents and like, oh, we don't need to talk. And they're like, yeah, we kind of do. Like, my kid can't come to your house unless I know you and we have a conversation. So I think parents are up against a lot right now that was never even an issue, like for me, for my age and the age of my children. I think it's really tough what people are dealing with. Tracy and Julie,
Oh, I
know.
need to know who they are. I need to know who they are. I need to know, like, who are they spending time with at their house before. And mine is older, you know, but I still need to know whose house they're going to and introduce. But that's something that I've said for a while since moving here, that it was just kind of weird that nobody did that. Like, I need to be introduced to the parents. I need to say, hello, my name is Tracy. Like, who are you? Where are you taking my kid? You know, like, it just seemed weird to me that nobody did that. And I'm like, I still do. I need to know the parents. I need to know where you're going. And you're not going anywhere until I do. Sorry. That's just been a rule. And she'd be like, it's okay. I'm just going over to, and nope. I need to know where you're going.
Yeah.
If I don't know
Julia,
where you are, you're not going anywhere.
Julia, is that a bigger city thing? Because I noticed it was a little different when I moved to Pittsburgh, where we have school choice. And so, as long as your child is at like a certain grade level, like if they have a C and they have so few missed absences, they give you like they were in school 80% of the time, you can pick what school you go to. Where I raised my kiddos when they were younger, I mean, everybody knew everyone. My oldest graduated with a class of 60. So they knew each other way too well. Is it you live in a smaller-ish area? Do you kind of know your kiddos, parents, friends, kind of?
So my girls don't have a huge friend group that they actually hang out with outside of school. Um, but um, to an extent, we definitely have parents that don't want to, introduce themselves, or, you don't exactly know who their friends' parents are. But um, my answer to that is just be the host mom. I'm just like, everybody come over here. I know where you are. I know what you're doing. I'll feed you. We have space. You can hang out. We have animals you can cuddle up with. Just come here, you know.
Yeah.
I will drive, and not every parent can do this. I'm very fortunate, but I'll be like, I'll pick you up. And, you know, I am like, it does take me back sometimes that parents don't want to meet me. you
Yeah.
know I'm driving your kid. You don't want to say hello. You don't want to know my name.
And you're
um
delightful. Who would
yes,
not want
so,
to? Like, I want to come to your house and do crafts with you. Who would not
yeah,
want to talk to you?
Right.
You are amazing.
yeah,
For
well,
sure.
thanks a lot, guys. But yeah, no, and I mean, it we lose, as parents, we're losing out on chances to make our own friends. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? If kids are friends, why wouldn't we have the same kind of thing? So I'm sad over here with no friends because none of the parents want to meet me, but no, it's okay.
I wish I lived closer to you. You're on the other
Yeah,
side
yeah,
of the state.
yeah. We're far away. We're far away
Yeah.
from everybody.
We'll
But
we'll start doing our we'll start doing like a some night craft night where we all get together and we do crafts
yeah,
or something
yeah.
Our
virtually.
daughters would
Well,
hang
Something
out.
to do.
Probably.
yeah.
Yeah.
Daughters would definitely hang out. We have friendly kids, and they really meshed at the conference. So
Um,
uh I try to get them to be virtual friends too. I'm like, text Tracy's daughter, see how she's doing. But yeah, I'm the home for the friends. They come
Yeah.
here.
that's what
So
I always did too, and I never regretted it. And it was, and I was an open book. Like any parent, come see where if I have guns, they are
Mhm.
locked up. I have smoke detectors. Open my refrigerator, see what's in it. You see a
right,
cooler because we're having a fire. You open that cooler, you look in it. Your kids here,
right,
you're allowed to go all over the place. You look at anything you want, so you know that you're leaving your kid in good hands. Um, I feel bad that that is not the same. I hear from a lot of parents that they're they're just not engaging with other parents. And personally, like that, when I was a kid, I knew not to do something that a neighbor seen. Like, oh my gosh, before I even got home, my mother would have known about it. You know,
right. Yeah.
It's definitely for me, it's definitely the difference between living in a smaller town and living in a much bigger city. You know, just kind of getting to know the parents and stuff. But I will say, open house nights at school fundraisers, um, going in and volunteering for your child's class if that's something you can do. Whether sometimes schools don't want parents in there, sometimes they require, clearance checks, which just may be prohibitive if you've got to pay $30, in a variety of clearances to get into your kiddo school. Or a lot of us don't have transportation or a job that lets us just duck out on particular days. But as often as you can, um, meeting those other parents, I think, is a great idea. Like you said, for making friends
Yeah.
is always really nice. And the other thing is when a kiddo comes to your house, if you have the ability to give them a snack, hey guys, come on in here, let's have a snack, and you can, as a parent, interact with them a little bit. There's always the kids who put on like the fake, oh hello Mrs. whoever, and I mean, come on, we're not stupid. Often we could kind of see right through those kids who are a little too polite, but kind of have some interaction with the kiddo too, and then maybe you'll get to know them a little bit more, because sometimes even the kiddos who come from homes where maybe some things go on that you might not be super thrilled about, maybe having them have a safe haven at your house is kind of nice if you could do that. Well, ladies, let's wrap up. Do you all have any words of wisdom to share with our audience?
I would say
We're all
slow
thinking.
slow down if you can, and come up with a plan. Talk with them, have those conversations, and um, talk to other parents. What are you doing about this or that? If you have that ability. But um, I think that we're on the cusp of, this could go in a really bad direction, or parents can get a hold of what's going on in their own houses with what's the information that's coming through the internet and streaming and all that kind of stuff. Just slow down and try to get a grip on it, because it's big. It's a big thing.
I feel like um, having conversations, especially with older teens, um, about things you're seeing on with AI, and things that are, like Melissa said, getting you, um, that helps them see that things that are too good to be true probably are, and then you can you can monitor that kind of stuff and see what where they can see where you're coming from, and realize that even adults are being led astray with some of this stuff.
And I was thinking about the conversations with your little ones, just having conversations about the people they're talking to, the friends that they're getting requests from through these games, just having conversations, openly. What are your conversations like on your game? Are you getting friends? Who is this friend? So that you can have that open discussion about what types of friends they're having, maybe playing the game with them, so that you can see what kind of conversations they're having, and what the video game looks like, and just kind of playing with them, and trying to have that communication with your children, so that you can see what's happening at the same time. So they can trust, and you can see what's happening too. Because sometimes I feel like even us as parents, we're so disconnected from some of these games. I don't play these games, so I probably wouldn't even know the first thing about, even going in and creating any of these things. So getting to know maybe some of the games that they're playing, so that we ourselves know how to go about it, and helping them. So just kind of getting down their level too.
So I'm going to go old school and
Oh,
say, as much as you can, dinner, a family dinner, as often as you can. It doesn't have to be anything major. It could be, there were the night before garbage night was always what I called fend for yourself night, where the kiddos could grab anything out of the fridge, leftovers, if they wanted to make themselves a sandwich, if they wanted cereal for dinner. They were always, their favorite night of the week was fend for yourself night. You know, I would cook and drive myself, mad making all these elaborate meals, and they were most excited when they could fend for themselves and have cereal for dinner. But if you can all sit together at the table as often as possible, one of the silly little games that I started in our house was, how was your day and what did you do? And everyone would go around and take a turn kind of talking about whatever. And originally, when we first started, my oldest was older. She was already in middle school. It was dumb. She didn't want to play. And so we just kept at it. And the little ones, of course, would talk, talk, talk. And that was great. And after doing it for a little while, then my older one, she would kind of try and chime in. And I go, wait, you missed your turn. We'll come back around to you. And we did. And eventually she started talking and sharing. And, especially when everyone was sharing, and it was nice. And I was able to listen not just for what she told me, but what she didn't tell me. So she was talking about somebody and then stopped talking about them. Then I kind of knew maybe to ask. Maybe they're, as teen and preteen girls are like fighting and things like that. It was really great. And for as long as you can do it, make time to try whatever that might look like in your house. Maybe it's talking to them, turning off the radio, turning the radio down low, and sharing about your day when they get in the car from school, because they're super excited then, or while you're taking them wherever. So figure out maybe what that opportunity could be like in your family and how that would work. And I'm really glad that I did it, because it just kind of opened up. We could talk about different things. It was my favorite part of the day. So thanks, ladies. It's so nice to see everybody. And we'd love to hear from our audience. Like, what's going on in your life? What are you thinking about AI? Great tool. Are you worried about it for the kids? Do you think we're overreacting? Do you have any tips that you could share with us? We'd love to hear from you. You could shoot us an email at contact@paparentandfamilyalliance.org, or leave a comment in the comment box, like what it's for. But thanks, everyone. Have a great week. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.